All right. I am so excited because I was just saying to Lydia recently, the guest that I've had on, I'm actually like genuinely pumped about having the frickin' conversation. And you will find out really soon why. I was telling Lydia that I was watching some of her YouTube videos over the last week before this interview. And I was like, I just love this person. And I mean, I loved you back then and I still love you. It's like you haven't changed and you've changed, if you know what I mean. And she's fucking hilarious and she's so raw and real and she has so much to share about manifestation, and I'm so excited to get like the ins and outs and like the nitty-gritty details as to how she freaking blew up her life. I think it was 2023, but she'll correct me. She absolutely just fucking like went to town on her life and on her business, and I think something that I'm so excited about is because I think it was right before 2023 in a few of her videos she was describing, and she'll like talk about it, but like she was describing how things were really really shit, like really not good at all.
Right.
And she's so honest about it. Like she's like, I gained weight, there was this, there was that, and it's like I think the rawness and the realness to then have the huge ass quantum shift that you've had with like over 100,000 followers on TikTok and a blowing up business and people asking you to be a speaker, from what I saw in your videos. And but like that's just the beginning. Like, you said like your fitness journey is just taken like a whole other amazing shape. Your friendships, your level of adventure. I think you said you went on holiday like 6 times and like
Eight.
eight, even better, even fucking better. Like this is like, and this is why I love it because it would be not as exciting or interesting, I think, to me if it was just sort of like, oh, just like a little bit of linear growth and she just sort of incrementally like moved her life along. It feels to me like you went from like it's being an absolute shit show, like bottom, and I mean, everyone's experienced that. I've experienced that. And then for it to just take such a huge turn, and not just in one area of your life, but like your fitness, your friendships, your adventure and lifestyle and holidays, your business, your finances, like that's so juicy to me. So I'd love for you to share from the beginning. So I would love for you to paint a picture of like where were you before that 2 week like big bad boy sort of manifestation challenge that you started doing. What do you call it? You call it the
Doing self-concept
yes.
challenge. Yeah.
Yes, your 2 week self-concept challenge. Right before that, kind of paint us a picture of like what was going on in your world at that stage.
Yeah. So I think I'm probably best to start from the beginning because me and you met in 2016, so a whole 10 years ago. Olivia was the first one-on-one coach that I ever worked with. I still use her teachings to this day. You were the first coach. I remember I brought a 1 hour session off you, and then I brought a 3 month package, and it just that changed my life back then. But I fell out of love with the coaching industry probably 2019. So I had 3 years in it, fell out of love with it. And me and you have very similar stories in that we burnt it to the ground. I was like, I'm done. I've got to take a break and I've got to unlearn everything that I've learned in terms of the social media space that it was at the time, not from our teachers, from the social media space. I just felt it was quite toxic. But I always had this desire within me to come back. I just needed that little break in space and time from it. And I used to say to people, I'm going to take a Stormzy break. Before Stormzy did Gang Signs and Prayers, and he came back and he played Glastonbury in his Brit vest. He took a year off because it got too much for him. So I was like, I'm going to take a Stormzy break. I'm going to take a year off and I'm going to come back bigger and better. So that was always in my head. But then the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
Now, in the pandemic, I had gone back to my first business lash extensions. And so that I was completely out of work during the pandemic, like no coaching. And who the hell would want to buy coaching in a pandemic? Because everyone's, we can't even keep ourselves motivated. So I just definitely didn't feel like I was in a position to coach anybody. I felt really hopeless. And Tony Robbins spoke about that in the pandemic, that, it stripped us of hope. And if we've not got hope, it's a very hard place to live in.
Yes.
Um, and so being out of work for so long, because work is my sense of self-worth. I'm a hard worker. I've always had my own businesses and I've worked since I was 13. So to be stripped of the one thing that I get all my validation, well, a lot of my validation from, it's the one place that's mine in life. That's mine. That's my thing. And it just completely destroyed my sense of self during that time.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was, I think for any of us, the entrepreneur space, hard workers, freedom living kind of people, like all the freedom was stripped from, everything was just stripped. So I had a really hard time during the pandemic anyway. And then as we were coming out of it, I'll never forget, I saw my friend in the gym and he said, "Oh, are you still coaching?" And I said, "I want to get back into it. I feel like, the pandemic's over. We're all coming out of it. This is October 2021 at this time." I'm like, "Yeah, I need to get back into it." And then my best friend passed away a week later and it just destroyed me. I feel like there's two parts of my life. There's before Taylor died and there's after. And it was such a soul destroying moment. I found it really, really hard to pick myself up. And I was still on universal credit from the pandemic. That helped me out because I was out of work for so long. I began partying the pain away. I was self-medicating, toxic environment, toxic situations. I all of the things I valued before, like paying the rent on time, and the grief just destroyed any sense of self I had. It was self-destruct, nothing matters, and this angry
Yeah.
ball of just venom, let's say. It was just horrible. It was a horrible space to be in, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And then skip to 6 months later, I kind of had this like epiphany where I felt like my depression was a bit of a luxury. And I was like, this isn't fair. Taylor doesn't have the luxury of being depressed.
Oh, wow.
Now two of us are dying for what? And I was like, I had this moment of,
Oh my God, Lydia, just what you just said.
yeah, I just had this moment of, you have so many gifts and
Mhm.
you're wasting them. And this isn't the trajectory that you were meant to be on in life. You weren't meant to be going down this slippery slope because it was just a shit show, everything. And there was just pure drama and chaos around me. And it was like, it was a life it wasn't mine, it was EastEnders. It was just like, it was like a soap opera. And I was like, this wasn't the life that was destined for me. And I need to change it, and I need to change it now. And that's when I started getting into self-concept work. I'd seen everybody talk about it on TikTok. And then, interestingly enough, I went to Ibiza a month after that, and there was a woman in the pool who I'm still friends with now. She was in her 60s and she had these great big nails and she was so glamorous, but she was a psychologist and she was going upstairs doing client calls and she was coming back down. And you'll know from when we worked together, that was my dream. That was just like, for me to be on holiday, do one-on-one clients, and then like live the rest of the day as my fantasy. And it was just meeting her, and I thought, I can do this again. I can do this again. This is my sign. If she can do it, I can do it. And she was so encouraging to me as well. I explained my situation to her. And that just set me on like my little light bulb moment I have to get out of this and I'm going to figure out a way. And it's going to be hard because it feels alien to me, but it's going to, somehow it's going to work. And so that's when I started the TikTok account. And I made it in secret because everyone in my hometown knew I was openly grieving. And I just thought, I can't have anybody telling me, who are you to give advice right now? Who would listen? And I even had somebody close to me say, not close to me, it was someone I was seeing at the time. They said, "Who would listen to you? You're a mess at the minute." And I was like, "Oh, I can't, yeah." And he was just reflecting back my inner
Of course.
fear.
Of course.
That was exactly what I was thinking. So I don't even have any anger towards him for that. But that's how I felt. And so I kept it very private. I often say it's like a Hannah Montana lifestyle. I had my secret TikTok and then I had my normal life. And I
Yeah.
think it got to about 50K before anyone even found out about it. So it was almost like a proof is in the pudding moment when people did come to find out about it. But I just started making TikToks every day and I was like, I can't just say I want to be a content creator for manifestation. I have to actually make the videos every single day. That's not like I can't just create the identity. I have to live it and I have to breathe it and I have to take big action on it every day, even if it's scary. So having the account be under a brand name and a bit anonymous and not, you can link your TikTok to search for friends in the local. I had all that turned off. I was like, I'm going to keep it just my little world for as long as I can. And I did. And it got to the December of that year. So this is December 2022 now. And it's like I'd almost forgot to manifest with it. So I'd probably got to about 1,000 followers and I was like, no, I want to move to Ibiza next summer. This has to work. And so I started scripting out, my name is Lydia Killion and I've got 10,000 followers on TikTok. But I also added my content is bingeable. My clients get amazing results. My followers get results from my free stuff and all this kind of things. And within 3 weeks, I had 10K followers and people had started buying
That's
my digital product.
insane. That's
Insane.
insane.
Within 10 weeks. And the thing is, like with this stuff, I think people think we have to openly think consciously about what we have to do to manifest, but we don't. It was literally as simple as I thought to myself on the Monday, I'd love to receive flowers this week. the next day a client brought me flowers. And so I made a video about it, 10K followers within a week.
Right.
It wasn't this conscious, how do I manifest 10K? It was just literally, I didn't think that video was going to blow up. It was literally, I got in from work doing lashes, set my phone up, kind of like psyched myself up to do a video because I was tired. I've done 12 hours of lashing and I just posted it. And I woke up the next day and I'd already gained like 5,000. It was crazy.
At that stage, had you already done all of like the self-concept work, like the sleep affirmations, the like,
I
no.
hadn't done sleep affirmations yet. So I'd done self concept work in a very soft approach. So I had no routine to it yet. And it was very much of, I'll say some affirmations when I'm in the car, and it was very loosey goosey. It was as and when, and there was no routine to
So
it.
crazy that when you were doing it loosey goosey, I love that term, that you got 10,000 followers, like even on a kind of manifestation kind of vibe. Like, I think that's fucking amazing. Out of curiosity, because I don't think that's the case for a lot of people, where if they're doing it kind of half-assed and like a bit like meh, like whatever, that they get the result. Why do you think it worked for you at that stage?
Because I trust it, because I really wholeheartedly trust law of assumption. I trust manifestation, law of attraction, whatever you want to call it. The universe, I trust it. I've seen it so many times. And one exercise you used to get me to do when we worked together was write out 20 reasons as to why you believe the new belief, or
Yes.
how do I know I can do this?
Yes,
And
yes.
so that's something I've never let go of. And so whenever I've manifested something big, I always write down 20 things I've manifested before. So I lock in my belief with the law of assumption and manifestation. And I think this is why some people struggle with it, because they don't have enough proof in themselves of making the law of manifestation work. And so they've got two stories they're working against. They're trying to create new beliefs and say these affirmations, but also they're not even fully trusting that it works to begin with. And you don't have to fully trust it. But I think because I do fully trust it, and I've manifested things down to what people were wearing in the visualization. So I have this just innate deep sense of knowing that it works.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Even 10 years ago when we were, or whenever we were working together, I remember that about you. Like even at
Yeah.
that stage, like you were obsessed with the law of attraction. And it's actually something that like I absolutely loved about you. And it was just, it was, it's like when someone has a passion for like art or a passion for a particular like science. It's like it felt like you have a passion for like the law, like all the different laws, not just one. And I remember that. And so it's interesting what you just said, that you right before you got the first like 10,000 followers on TikTok, that it was really like because you trusted that it would work. And I
Yeah.
feel like it's interesting, but it's what's interesting as well is when you told the story is you were talking about that woman who was at the pool, and you said, she was really encouraging. And I found that interesting as well, because I feel like sometimes as well, what we also need is somebody who's like, I fucking believe in you.
Yeah.
And like, and a lot of people talk about that, like borrowing belief in someone, like someone
Yeah.
else. Because in
Definitely.
at that stage, it's like now I feel like you probably do that to with so many of your clients, but also all of your TikTok followers, because you're like I can give you that belief now because I have it for myself. So I feel like that was probably a big moment as well, where you're like, actually, if she's doing it and she believes in me, like why not me kind of vibes.
Yeah, I think it's exposure therapy as well. So I was only exposed to, I was surrounded by people grieving because it was all his friendship group, and it was a lot of misery and
Yeah.
like self-contained misery as well. I was doing it to myself and I knew that. And it was like this self-fulfilling prophecy of not feeling great about myself, not making good choices, not like it's a cycle, and it's a cycle you see in so many people. And if you don't know how to get out of the cycle, I can see how you stay in that forever.
Right.
I'm fortunate enough that because I'd been a coach before and I have believed in this for so long. Because when I found the book The Secret when I was 16, I was grieving then. So I knew I could, I've always believed in this manifestation stuff. And then I think just being exposed to somebody who was doing it, and also because she wasn't in the social coaching world as well.
Yeah, tell me
She was
about it.
doing it without the hit 10K followers in 10 months or hit six figures in 6 months. Like there was none of that coaching jargon with her. It was just purely she's a therapist and she's working from the pool. And it was as simple as that, like
I love the simplicity. None
simplicity
of
of
the bullshit and none of the
the
fluff.
bullshit. Not,
Yeah.
yeah, none of the bullshit that comes along with the coaching industry that you and me have both kind of suffered
Yeah.
from. Was like
That's what made me burn my business to the ground. Like exactly.
it's what made me burn my business down. It became so toxic and it became like a multi-level marketing scheme rather than coaching. And I remember thinking, this isn't what I've got into it for. I don't want to teach people how to make that. I don't want to do this. I want to help people have babies and marriages and
And
all
that's
these
what you're doing now, which is like
what I
the
do now,
coolest
yeah, which is
thing
what
in
I
the
do
entire
now.
world.
But I think as well, like being young and impressionable and shiny object syndrome and seeing people before you getting this success, you do kind of follow suit. That's how like human psychology works. So I don't really blame myself for falling into that trap, but I had to get out of it in order to create the business I've got now. And it's only when you look back at everything that had to happen. I'm also a big believer in everything that had to happen. Like that's how the dice fell, and that's how it goes. But yeah, I really just believe like being exposed to her and just having that little cog in my brain think, yeah, I could try this again. I want this. After,
Oh, so good.
I mean, that was my first holiday in 4 or 5 years as well because of the pandemic.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's the first time I've been to Ibiza for 4 years. So it was like a rush of dopamine that was encouraging me.
But you know what's funny about you just saying that? We just went to the Canary Islands like just now, like in January, and it was like just like every time, like we went to Mexico a year and a bit ago or whenever it was, and I feel like every time I go on holiday and I travel, and I love travel, what you're describing, that dopamine hit, it feels like you land on a different dimension that is available to us
Yeah,
at all times. It's available now in January when it's fucking pouring down rain, but it's also available at like any stage regardless of what's going on in your world. But sometimes, like you said, like the holiday, the adventure, the travel, that intense euphoria and ecstasy and like loads of sunshine and like pure joy, and everyone's in that
for
mood.
joy.
It's so
Yeah,
juicy. It's such a good like
the
manifestation.
collectiveness.
Yes.
The collective consciousness, and like without getting too woo woo, but like I've literally just posted a story about this today, and I was like, if you let out there affect you, like I'm looking at a grey sky right now, it is miserable. There is nothing dopamine about this outside, and so you have to work extra hard in January, I think,
I
to
think
boost dopamine. I mean, in England in general, like it's like all year round. As soon as I hit a different destination, even if it's like Amsterdam, Amsterdam's very similar weather to this, but it's freedom. There's like everyone's job. It's just a different vibe. This country is hard vibe.
I No, but like it's funny that you say that because my mind's been going into like, oh, would we move to like Mallorca, Gran Canaria? Because we went to Mallorca a few months ago, and I was like, oh, would we move to where was the other place? Like Ibiza? Because I was like hearing that Regan was like, and anyway, I was just like noticing that because like you said, like your environment does matter, like
It
who you're.
matters a lot.
It really does. And I think like then obviously you can manufacture your internal world like you were describing, like in January, like you can absolutely manufacture it so that you're high on effing life, even when it's like pouring down rain.
Yeah.
But I want to go back because I'm so curious about everything. So I want to go
Yeah.
back to the 10,000 followers. And I can
Yeah.
keep
So
hours. So the 10,000 followers. Okay, so then you're at 10,000 followers, but you haven't like you said like I was just kind of doing it wishy-washy, like I kind of set
now,
expectations. Yeah.
sorry, now I'm getting on a time crunch because this
Right.
is now the January and Ibiza is in May. That's when I want to move. That's when the season starts. So now it's like, oh my gosh, like something needs to change. And that January was just, oh, that was horrendous. I had loads of things in my personal life just fall to shit. That's all. Like it was so painful. I cried myself to sleep every night. I was taking diazepam to get to sleep because I couldn't sleep. It was just, it was excruciating, and I was like, I'm not letting go. This has got to happen. This is not where I'm staying. And then I found subconscious reprogramming, and that is what really, really changed everything for me because that stopped it being this thing I would do in bits and bobs every single day, and it became like, no, if I program my subconscious mind, that's going to do it for me, and I have to stop efforting and striving and following every TikTok trend that you see for manifestation. There's the 2 cup method, there's the 3 6, and they all work because you back your belief in it, but they don't reprogram your identity. And so that's when I discovered sleep affirmations. And I started by listening to other people's, and I just started noticing that I was waking up feeling better and things were feeling easier. And even to the point where this house that I'm in now, when my friend first moved into it, because my friend's my landlady, she had a party and I was in that bathroom and I remember thinking, I want this.
Wow.
I want this.
Wow,
But I didn't mean her house. I didn't mean her house.
of
I was
course.
like, I want this. Like this is gorgeous. Like I want a house next. Well, the February, my landlord tells, well, it was probably January, but he tells me, and I loved my old house. I loved it with a passion. I'd grieved there. It was my first home. It was just it was my safe space. We want you to move out in a month. We've sold the house. And I was like, oh my God. My friend who owns this house that day said to me, why don't you move into my house? And I'll move in with my grandma and my boyfriend. And I was like, these sleep affirmations are working because that was a fast
Wow.
turnaround. That was so fast.
How long was that between? Was that like a month or was that a few weeks? Or how many?
That was a few hours. That was a few hours because she had seen her that day and I was crying. The landlord wants me to move out. I don't know what to do. And I was like, what the fuck?
I know it does feel like I
And
was
it's only going to be temporary because I was moving to Ibiza. It wasn't like a
right.
long-term thing, but it was just
Still,
like sense of, whoa, the universe has got my back at the minute. Like whatever I'm doing right now, this is different to what was happening last year. Things are working out in my favor more now. Like
you know,
things
with their sleep affirmations, was it like plug-in headphones or was it like AirPods? Like,
no, I can't sleep with I'm insomniac. I'm trying to subconsciously program myself to not be an insomniac, but I've always had trouble sleeping. I don't know why. So I would listen to it on a very like the first setting, like low, and just have it just a meter away from the bed. So I could gently hear it, but not to the point where it's waking me up. And sometimes I do struggle to listen to them. Like right now, I'm going through a phase where I'm struggling to fall asleep to them because my brain's just too active. That's fine.
yeah,
I go through
yeah,
stages,
yeah.
but
Okay, this is so interesting. Mhm.
very, very minimal setting. And then so we got to the February, I'm in this house, and I was like, I know I can do this in 2 weeks. I don't know what it was that made me think it's 2 weeks, but I was like, I don't need 6 months. I need 2 weeks of just locking the book in, not wavering, not doubting. Just I just need that like almost like a January feeling where you just clean slate, new like just line in the sand moment. If the house worked out, then everything else can work out. It was like that little bit of belief I had. And so I was like, right, I'm going to create my own sleep affirmations. I'm going to make them very specific to my situation, but also the self-concept work of it, like in terms of like I am worthy, I can change this situation, I do deserve a good life, those kind of things that which were completely opposite of what I was feeling at the time. And I also added in the resistance exercises that you would get me to do, and then other exercises such as EFT to release resistance and nervous system regulation, which I hadn't really, again, I'd done it in drips and drabs whenever I needed that little bit of a relief, but not what you've got to understand about the subconscious mind is it doesn't want to change. Like you know this. Like I say that to the audience when
No,
I
no, no,
say
I know. I'm lo everything
it,
you're sharing is so good.
it
Keep
doesn't it doesn't like change. It wants to stay the same, whether that's broke and loveless and in the gutter. It likes that, it knows it. And so the more nervous system regulation you do with the subconscious reprogramming, it makes it a softer transition. So it's not fighting you back as much. And it also makes it happen faster. So I was like, I'm going to EFT my brain out over the next 2 weeks and I'm going to program my subconscious mind. And I made an affirmation rampage to listen to during the day as well.
I love that.
I kind of have this like, I call it like a trifecta. I have affirmations, I have the nervous system regulation and the release and resistance, but also I felt it real. So every day I was like, for at least 15 minutes, I'd be on my walk with my headphones in, prancing about like I got everything I wanted in that moment. So I'd be telling myself, I fucking did it. I did it. I did it. It's manifested. And I just practiced that feeling over and over again. If I could do it for more than that, I would do it for more than that. If I could do it multiple times a day. But I just practiced that feeling because again, you're training your nervous system to hold that feeling and then it manifests. And then when it comes in, you hold it as well. Like it becomes a part of your nature then. It becomes natural. And within 2 weeks, like I felt so much better and everything just started to change. Within a month, I'd had this idea for a workshop and the money started to roll in. Within 2 months, like massive changes had happened, things that I'd been dreaming, like it was just insane. And within 3 months, I'd moved to Ibiza. So everything that I'd been trying to manifest for honestly like 10 years up until that point, like even when I was working with you, I was trying to manifest all these things that I've got now.
Yeah.
And it just became effortless. And that doesn't mean I don't have bad days. That doesn't mean it doesn't feel hard some days. It doesn't mean I don't have enormous amount of doubt some days and imposter syndrome. That all those things are just part of growth. But it was the thing for me that just made my growth consistent and it made it strategic and logical because I do have a very logical brain and I like a set out. You know, like if you want, I always say like if you went to a PT and you wanted to lose 100 pounds,
Yeah.
you would have a fitness program and you would have a food plan.
Yeah.
And so this was my way of doing that, but for manifestation, it was like a solid plan that I could follow that I knew would guarantee me results at the end of it. It might not, hit exactly what I want, but it's going to get me way further than if I don't do it.
I fucking love this. I love everything that you're, I mean, I knew I would, but like it's like even it's so good. I you know what's interesting is you mentioned you talked about like a trifecta and you were saying like there was self-concept and there was like EFT and then there was the third piece which is like the feeling, the frequency, the embodiment.
Yeah.
And I had this massive realization literally like just over a month ago in December of 2025 where I it dawned on me that like I had absolutely done like the identity piece like that was like it's you know it is because I'm in love with it whatever. And identity was like thing and if I looked at like my habits and my practices I was like yeah like I am that person. But suddenly it dawned on me that I had repeated what I had done 9 years ago, which was this concept of, and I'm really curious to hear you talk about it because I think it'll be really helpful for other people. But where I was almost saying like I'm still not there. And yeah, like I had these amazing results, and yes, I had this. I honestly every single fucking day I'm like feel so blessed about the life I have. And I still, there was this kind of like I was really unaware of it. This is what's really fascinating about this world
Oh, it's fascinating.
so fascinating that like I like I've been doing this work and like you I've been doing this work for over 10 years and like I'm so into it, I'm obsessed with it, whatever. But honestly, last year I was without realizing it in unconscious scarcity and lack, not in a lot of my areas of my life, but when it came to my like business, I was like, yes, I had the results and I had clients and I knew like I knew what was available and I knew what I was going for. And I was like, I'm in lack and scarce. I didn't realize this until December. And then I was like, wait a second. And I'm really curious to hear what you're going to say. But I was like, wait a second. Despite, I thought to myself, like, if I, 3 years down the road, do I want to be feeling what I'm feeling these days? And I was like, no, because although there were definitely like moments of being buzzing and high and like excited and lit up, of course, there was a lot of that. But there was also a lot of this underlying tension of like, I'm still not there, I'm still not there, I'm still not there. And it's because there was such a high focus on what I wanted and the vision and the next level, and that's absolutely fine in of itself, but it was the problem was the scarcity and the lack feeling. And I was like, I don't want to continue feeling like this. Like I don't results are not results. I don't want to feel like this. It's not a good feeling. And so I'm really curious to hear your take on that around because you've talked about it in some of the videos that I watched where it's like this idea that like you don't want to feel you don't want to be like obsessive about the thing whereby it's like you and you're not living your life now. Like I think that's why I think your Instagram handle is like get an effing life or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like it's that, right? It's like go fucking live your life and be like you want to be juiced now. You're not why are you waiting until the manifestation occurs? Like that's the opposite of the law of vibration anyway. So I'm curious to hear your take on all of this.
So that was my identity work trifecta was the self-concept, the affirmations, and whatever else I said, the nervous system regulation and the feeling it real. But my missing component, which I had also never done before, was enjoying my life right now. It had always been when I get that thing, when I get that relationship, when I get that money, when I get that holiday, then I'll be happy. But then that comes around and you have something else to do. And so one thing I started doing is I was like, I need hobbies because the more free time I have, the more time I have to doubt. And the more room I have in this current identity, the more I'm going to stay here. This was my thinking of it. And it was like, I can't, and again, it was probably from the grief and from Taylor passing away. It's like, I can't, what if Ibiza doesn't fulfill me? What if it's not what I want? And to be fair, it wasn't the thing that I wanted it to be when I got there, to be fair. So that was interesting that I thought that. But it was this thing of I need to enjoy my life now. I can't just pin it on 6 months' time. And so I started learning gymnastics at 29. I was like, right, I'm going to get a hobby. I'm going to do something I've never done before. And it was January. This is when I started doing gymnastics. I was like, I'm going to just like give myself stuff to do. And then I started learning Spanish on Duolingo. I was like, I know I'm going to be on my phone. I've got a phone addiction. I don't want to scroll. I may as well be learning something on it. And then I've got like the satisfaction. I'm replacing the trigger and the habit, but just with something else. I'm still on my phone.
Yeah.
And so those two things, they really helped me love my life as it was. And then also, I did have my 30th birthday coming up. So I had a lot of fun things planned. I had a holiday to Tenerife. I had birthday party. I had so many fun things that were going on as well. And I just realized that was the kind of like the missing key that I hadn't done before. I used to be a weirdo over manifestation, and
Yeah.
I'd sit there journaling for 5 hours, and I'd sit in my bedroom and I'd be looking out the window waiting for life to come and hit me and feeling miserable. And that is why my brand's called Get an F in Life, Babe. And I used to say it on a podcast, and I was like, so my podcast used to be called Vibe With It. This is how it came about. And I'd be talking, I'd be like, you don't just sit there manifesting. You need to go and get an F in life. You need to get out of the house. You need to go meet life where you're at. You need to have fun now, because that also, again, it's aligning you to the frequency of what you want anyway.
Yeah.
Manifestation is really like, the more you need it, the longer it's going to take.
Yeah.
And it's a little
Again,
joke,
yeah.
this little
Yeah.
joke the universe plays with you. And it's that
I
because it's
love that.
huge amount of resistance, and the more fun you have, the less resistance you have, because you can't be having fun and feeling like, where the hell is it at the same time. So the more fun you can have in your everyday life, and I find this probably the hardest thing to do, because I not so much then, because I was doing lashes, so I was busy for a lot of the day, but now that I'm back in a business where I'm working from home all the time, not everybody, I live in a small town, so not everybody's got the same lifestyle as me, where they can,
Yeah.
let's go for Pilates, let's do this, let's do that. I find it hard to fill up my, not hard, I don't find it hard, but I have a lot of spare time.
Yeah.
So I have to make an extra effort to get an F in life, babe, and like keep my
I
plate.
love that.
Yeah. And but that was the thing for me that I think really just tied it all in a bow, because I didn't need the money that 6 weeks, but after that 2 week self-concept challenge, that 6 weeks to this day is the best 6 weeks of my life. I think because it gave me my love for life back. It reminded me I can be happy again. And I just filled it up with so much fun stuff. It was like I always had something to bounce off, and it was just incredible. And I truly believe all that manifested, and I quantum jumped because I didn't need it to. I
Yeah.
wanted it to, but within each moment, I was fully okay if it didn't.
I really get
Yeah.
that. And I mean that piece needs to be like on a freaking billboard, because I think like it's what you just said is like you don't I'll say something which is quite interesting, which I think you'll find interesting, is like my husband and I, we've joked where it's like I've said to him, if you left, I would be so happy for you, because you obviously felt happy elsewhere, and that's why you felt the desire to leave. And then all I genuinely want for you is to be your happiest. And I it wasn't just saying that, I really meant it. And he feels the same way, like vice versa kind of vibe. And it's this kind of like we want each other and we love each other. And I'm obsessed with him still now, 10 years later, but I don't need him. And it's like that what you just described is like similar to like any other, because I think everyone I think I've this is what I've seen with a lot of clients is that there tends to be like one area where it's still like we kind of feel like we need it, or like we're attaching our worth or our happiness or our joy on it, thinking that that's going to answer all of like the questions and the issues and whatever. And I think you mentioned kind of the EB, so like you went over thinking it would be something and then it wasn't what you expected. And I remember that because like I remember when I was in my like around the beginning 10 years ago, and I went out to like LA and Las Vegas and New York several times for my business, and I remember expecting to feel a certain way and not feeling that way, and actually feeling really lonely at times because I didn't have like my friendship network, I didn't have like my people, I didn't have like my hobbies, I didn't have my workouts, I didn't have my things around me. And actually instead I felt like quite lonely and like whatever, all the things. And there were other times when I went over there and I felt like pure joy and ecstasy and all the things. So it just depended on the time. But it made me realize the thing you think it's going to give you whatever, it's like maybe, but also can you create that level of feeling now? Like you were saying, like get a, and oh, there's something else that you said that made me really, yeah, really spoke to me, because as a mom, so I've got two kids under 5. And I've noticed for myself, I think it's because I'm doing so much like identity work and visualization work and all the things. And I'm like starting to crave like going traveling even more. Like we already travel, but like I want to travel more. And like we home at our kids, so we don't have any like, but like my husband has his own company, so he like there's some things that are kind of tying us. But it's what you were describing about like living in a small town, and like it's almost like dealing with your BS as well, like the bullshit, the excuses as to like why we can't like create an even more insane, adventurous, exhilarating life now, regardless of your current like limits or constraints, or just whether it's kids or whether it's a parent that's unwell or whether it's like living in a small place or so I love what you just said about all of that. Yeah, love it.
I think as well, it's like I'm self-aware to a self-destructive point, in fairness. I wish I wasn't as self-aware. I think the less self-aware you are, the
Are
happier
very
you are.
self-aware. I
I mean,
guess, yeah.
I'm painfully self-aware. I wish I wasn't. But we have a hierarchy of needs, and mine is I place such a high need on love and connection. Not just with like a partner, but with like my family. Like that is where I get my biggest joy in life. And so moving to Ibiza takes a lot of that away. And I thought, okay, it's freedom, it's fun. I'm at my hometown, it's sunny, it's partying. Even though I wasn't even partying that much over there, I probably went out once every 2 weeks, if that. I party more here, which is crazy. But there's more dopamine over there. There's more natural dopamine. There's the sun, there's the beach,
Yeah.
there's the music, there's salt, there's everything. But there isn't my family and my friends. And so moving away, I think like it's really important to like know what your biggest needs are. For some people, they don't need that connection as much. I've got many friends and they're happy to travel the world, and a FaceTime is good for them with their friends and family. For me, it's not. I need that. And I think it is a byproduct of the grief. Taylor isn't the only person I've lost. I've been to a lot of funerals in my 32 years. And so I think for me, like family is just so, and friends are so important to me. And so I've learned that actually now I do want to be based here for as much as it's rainy and miserable, but here is where my family are. So I need to create a life where I'm traveling a lot, and that creates my adventure and my freedom, and I can still bounce between the two lifestyles. And rather than completely moving myself to another country and thinking that's where my happiness is going to be found, it's like, no, I need to nurture it here. Like the alchemist said, like it's like where you are right now. And if you don't understand what your importance is and where you're placing those, I think it's hard to create that right now as well.
It's really interesting. I'm loving this conversation. And I'm aware, oh my God, time-wise as well. So I have a question for you. Because so when you were doing the sleep affirmations and some of like the rampages and like getting into that, and then you were also getting into the feeling of it and then doing the EFT. Something I found as a high achiever that sometimes I fall into, and I have done it like 10 years ago and I still do to this day. It's one of those things where I have to really pick myself up on it, is suddenly being like, like almost like hyper focused and kind of like obsessive on the thing and thinking like, okay, more to do or something like. And I'd love to hear your take on that. Like once you've done the rampage, like where does your inspired action, like even if you think about the business, like whether it was like the TikTok posting or whether it was, setting up like the membership or whether it was something else, like for you, like where do you place action? Like how do you think when you think about like the law of attraction and just manifestation in general, like where do you see action? Where does that live?
I think the more you program your identity, the more your behavior is going to change. And so you naturally start taking action from that place, which probably isn't the answer that most people want to hear. But like when I decided, okay, so I knew in the pandemic, because I fell in love with TikTok in the pandemic, it became an outlet for better or for worse. It became my little escapism from the pandemic. It was funny. I was either learning or I was laughing. I was either learning about history and learning about manifestation, learning about how to do my makeup better, anything, or I was laughing at somebody and it was funny. So I was like, I want to be a TikTok creator. Like years ago, it was so easy for us. We just put Facebook Live on. We'd have so many people turn up, and that like I didn't even have a website back then, and I was like signing clients up. It was crazy. And then it got into Instagram. I love Instagram now, but back then it was very polished. Like it still is now, but I just didn't like the energy of Instagram. I've had to learn to love it and do it my way. But TikTok was like this fun 3 minute platform that I could just dart my information and then I can log off. And I don't have to do a half an hour. I used to do half an hour of Facebook Lives, and so did you every single day. And
Oh,
it's crazy. So we've taken the action so long before. So I just decided like TikTok is my space. This is where I want to be. It was fresh. It was quick punching information. And so I was like, I need to make a video every single day, or I have to post. I think it was I committed to posting once or twice a day because I was like, I can't say I want it. I have to act like I have it. If I already had 10,000 followers, I would be posting every single day to this community. And then my taking action, I'm a big believer in if I don't know how to do something, I will pay to learn how to do it. I will collapse the time it takes me. So I paid for a course on how to create captivating TikTok content. So just making sure I included call to actions, spoke about what I was selling, but in a nice way kind of thing. I
yeah.
did the same for Instagram when I couldn't figure out Instagram ages. And so I built my TikTok to 100K and like Instagram was still on a K. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And then I bought a course on how to make reels, how to make my, like, I'm just a big believer in if I will pay to find out. And if you can't, haven't got the money, there's YouTube, there's TikTok, there's podcasts, there's never been more information for a generation to acquire how to do something. So there's a way to figure it out. And so I feel like that's where my action comes from. I just figure out how to be that person, and then you naturally start being it. Um, it now it kind of looks like exposed. I'm a big believer in the scarier thing something is, I have to do it
Love that.
because then it stops being scary. And I believe that for years and years and years now, like probably 10 years, like I'm scared of doing a Facebook Live, just do it.
Yeah.
And it won't be in a month's time, it won't be scary. And that's what I say to people about posting on social media. Like it's terrifying when you first do it, that you're never going to escape. That's the surcharge you pay for having this lifestyle. It's like getting over cringe mountain. But then, thank God I did, because I have the lifestyle I've got now. And so it's like I'm just a big believer in exposing myself. And like I find it hard because I do have like a rejection sensitive kind of side of me. But it's just like the more you do something, the easier it gets. So my action, it's not like a set day-to-day routine of it.
Yeah, it just comes from the identity and comes from
It
like,
just comes, even the membership, like that came because I was selling just workshops, and it got to this, you have that little level of stress with that kind of business model. And it came from a point of, my business is a fucking gold mine. I have an online business. Like, there is no reason why I should be feeling, oh, will I make the money this month? Because you still, as a natural business owner, you still have that little bit of, ugh. And I was like, I need to eliminate this. I need recurring income. I need a different business model. I need a different platform. And then I'll still get that a little bit, but I won't have it as much because I know what's coming in. And so the membership wasn't born for any other reason other than like, I need a different way to help people. I need a different way to help myself. And I need a different way to generate income. And like, I needed more of an ecosystem rather than, I call it fishing for your dinner. You just like kind of put things out and hopefully someone buys one each month.
yes.
That's how like these things come about. And again, I think the more you work on your mindset and your identity of who you are, those natural thought patterns. It's like even with managing money, I used to be horrendous at managing money. And then the better I felt about myself and the more my self-concept grew, it became more of, oh, hang on, maybe me in 6 months' time would like me to have a bit of savings. Maybe she would like her bills paid. Maybe she would, do you know what I mean? It became like a natural thought process from the identity I was creating rather than something I tried to be that person with money for years before in the past, but I didn't have the identity that matched it. And so I'd be good for a month and then it'd fall short. Whereas the more I worked on my self-concept, the more everything became easier because now you're just naturally thinking like that person.
It, I mean, I think there's so many reasons I love this so much, but one of the reasons is that it's so clear and you make things feel so simple. And as you were talking as well, I was like, I can't wait for her book to come out. So FYI, we're all waiting for a book. But no, I like that makes a lot of sense. I have another question based on what you just shared. So when you were maybe it was like right before the 10,000 followers on TikTok and you were like, okay, I'm gonna start making these TikTok videos. But at that stage, even though there was like you were kind of doing some affirmations, but they was still quite like not, like light, like affirmations light or whatever. When you showed up on your TikTok video, was there because I can feel like there was like more later down the track it was like you were coming in more empowered, like stronger, like convicted in what you were saying, because I guess at that stage did you feel like what I'm sharing about the law of attraction, like is it really true, because I haven't yet really seen the results yet. I mean, you had though in the past,
I had. And
but
so that's how I trusted what, even if I didn't trust myself in that moment, I trust the information I'm portraying to you. I know that I'm a vessel for this information to be shared on. I know I make it simple for people. I knew that I make people laugh with it. Back then, I was doing accents and everything on it. Like me being in the creator fund and having to kind of go, oh my God, I need to make my videos a minute long. It ruined my content for a while because it stripped away my personality from it. I started to kind of like put myself into this box. But when I started out in that time period 3 years ago, I'd be like, hey up, do you want to learn about manifestation? Come on, let's go. And it'd just be really interactive and like people used to like comment, "Oh my God, do me an accent," and on like in the next video I'd do an accent. So I really breathed my personality into it as well. So I trusted my
I
personality.
love that. Yeah.
And you were actually the first person that told me to do that. So just for the audience knows, I remember we started working together 10 years ago, and I was very prim and proper, and I had like very basic outfits on, and I spoke, yeah, hi, my name is Lydia, I'm a mindset coach. And then I'd get on our calls, I'd have my tracksuit on, my hoop earrings, and you'd be like, who the hell is this?
Yeah.
Like, there's such a contrast between what you're putting out online and like who you are on our one-on-one calls. And you were like, you need to start being her now. And I was like, I can't do that. I swear like a sailor. I've got hoop earrings in. I look like a chav. And you were like, yeah, but that's what your audience is going to resonate with. And
And I
so,
loved that version of like
yeah,
I mean I love all of you, but I loved who you were bringing to the call. So I was like, "Oh my God, that shit like the
disconnect.
real
There's a
shit
huge
needs to
disconnect.
the real shit needs to come out." And it's like I was what because before my interviews I tend to like really watch stuff and I want to kind of get it, really understand like the background story. And as I was watching stuff, it was making me laugh. And I was like, it really brought back memories because obviously this was so long ago, but it brought back memories of our coaching calls. And I was just thinking, like, fucking hell, like, you know how like you were mentioning your gifts in the beginning or something, and I like that is one of your gifts. Like you have a real like and I know you know this, like a beautiful sense of humor and you are hilarious. And I think it's so needed because I think like for people who tend to be like in this route of like I fucking want this, whatever it is. It could be like a relationship, it could be a baby, it could be a business, it could be money, it could be whatever. We tend to then get a little bit like obsessive and like really serious. And
Yeah,
honestly, watching your videos brought back an element of me from back then of like this kind of like more like lighthearted, like fun, like silly, like whatever. And I think probably because the world that I'm currently in, especially like the mentors I've recently had, it's very much like, I've loved it. And it's like about leadership and it's like everyone is like talking a certain way. And when I was watching your stuff, I was like, it was such a breath of fresh air. And it was so just like raw and real. And I guess really it's just like what I prefer, which is like down to earth, like real, whatever. It's just more me. So I think that's probably why it spoke to me so much more. But I was like, yeah, like you doing that. But that makes a lot of sense. Like that back in the like let's say between before the 10,000 followers on TikTok, that you trusted in the information that you were conveying. So even though
yeah,
you had not fully grasped like all the pieces and like you hadn't done the work potentially at that stage to really manifest the key things that you craved. I mean, you'd probably manifested some things. It was like you were relying you were relying on the information, like the thing. And I feel like that's an interesting one because okay, I have a final question and then I'll end there because I could literally talk to you for hours. But it's for someone who's watching, who, you mentioned this in the very beginning where they're like they lack in the belief that it's going to work because for maybe like you said for 10 years they've been trying to manifest the same thing or same things and it hasn't happened and they have done things. And I think this is what's really quite tricky is like
yeah, definitely.
I've fucking done everything. Like I've done the affirmations, I've done the effing journaling, I've done the visualization, I've done this, I've done that, and I've taken massive action. Some people like I tend to attract people who are like big action takers, so they're like a bit overachievers and they've kind of been obsessive about it, which I get because that's how I am. And so I'm curious for someone like that where they're like, I feel like I'm kind of doubting it working. What would you say to that person?
So I have a few things because I think with overachievers, we do feel like we have to do more. I've never worked less in my life and earned more and had the more success. That's first and foremost what I want to say. And we have this like, I had to unlearn because I want to wake up at 10 a.m. in the morning that I'm lazy. No, I just have a different circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
That I go to bed at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, so I'm gonna wake up at 10. It doesn't mean I'm lazy, it doesn't mean I have a different rhythm of life, and there's nothing wrong with wanting a softer life. And I think we are so addicted to the struggle.
Yes.
And I had to let go a lot of the guilt of people working hard around me and all of those things. So I think it's really interesting to say like being an overachiever. And I think we do get obsessed with it. And I think self-help can be almost self-destructive in a way if all we're doing is finding our faults and we're not taking into consideration the things we do well. What I will say about things we've done before in the past,
Mm.
whose affirmations were we saying? Because if you're just getting affirmations you've seen off TikTok or that even your coach has given you, or a paragraph you've copied off Pinterest, that was a tongue tie, they're not yours. They're not relevant to your situation, and that's why they're not getting you any further. So if you have, and also your subconscious mind is going to fight you. So you're trying to say, I make 10K a month, I make 10K a month, I have 10K a month. But your subconscious mind has this belief of rich people are evil. My mum and dad divorced over money. Money equals bad things happening. So you've got two contradiction things going on here. So just saying I earn 10K a month, that's in fact that's going to cause more resistance and it's going to cause more of a gap between who you are and where you want to be. Saying money is safe. I am going to break, the generational curse of money, whatever it might be, money does not equal disaster. Loads of good people have money, and building up the belief that that's what you need to work on. You don't have to affirm that you're earning 20K, 50K a month. You have to work on what your subconscious mind is afraid of and what is really going on. And that was also the biggest difference that I did back then. I stopped using copy and paste cookie cutter affirmations that I thought were going to work for me. The only one that I've really found that does that is universe show me how good it gets. I love that affirmation. That's the only kind of umbrella affirmation I'll ever use. But
Oh,
with my clients and with this is why the self-concept challenge works so quickly, because I get them to figure out their own affirmations. I don't give anybody a list of affirmations. You can listen to my affirmation tapes. I've got general affirmations for you to listen to. But if you really want to see life-changing, life-altering results, you have got to work on what you need to work on. And if you've got this like, I want my dream body, I want my dream body, but you don't like the attention that you get when you're too exposed, or
yes.
you have this identity of being the funny friend, and you don't want to lose that. And if you lost weight, who would you be without the weight? Because you're the funny friend. Just saying I've got my dream body, that's not going to get you your dream body. You have to work with your subconscious mind on creating these new affirmations that actually are relevant to your situation. And that's probably why nothing's ever worked for you before. It's probably why the visualizations haven't worked before, because your subconscious mind is trying to protect you from having it. And
Oh,
this happened to me with the car, it happened to me with money, it happened with the 100K, everything. Like, just saying I want these things and affirming those things, like you can do that to go blue in the face. But I have a nervous system that is very protective over me, painfully so, and it will do so much to keep me out of danger, even if that is like the danger. Honestly, it's ridiculous. Like, I really do wish like I had a different brain sometimes, but I've learned to work with it. So I know now I have to affirm for what actually needs to be worked on, because this is why I tried these affirmations for 3 months, they didn't work. Yeah, because they weren't relevant to your situation at all.
yeah. No, I feel like when people listen to this, because it's hitting me like so hard, and I can just imagine how much it's gonna land. When you said like, like for let's say your goal is like 100K months, and then but then at the same time there's this like deep rooted fear around like making more than your dad did. But
That's what I had. I still have it. I'm
yeah,
working
yeah.
on it.
Trust me, all of these are mine. Do you know what I mean? And it's like what you're saying is so true. It's like you can affirm all you want, like 100K months, 100K months. And I know because I did this back in, years 1 to 4. And I was like, I've made 10, at the time I'd made 10K to 20K months for 36 months straight. And I remember thinking like, what the F? Because I was so affirming, 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 journaling, visualizing, like all the things. And it's what you
Sending
said.
yourself insane
It
and
makes you
losing your
insane.
belief each day that goes by and it's not happened. You're losing that belief because you're focusing on the wrong affirmations.
Well, that's the thing. And that's why I asked that question, because I was like, I know for me, I started losing the belief in like, wait a second. Like, especially what was really a mind fuck for me was that my clients were making, like I had a recent client, she made a multi-million-dollar company within a year and a half. And I had all these clients who were like 10xing, 20xing, like just crazy ass shit. And I was like, wait a second, like this is very confusing. Like I just don't understand like how this all works, because it was like how it, and I think is what you just said is like, what is the thing though that you are deeply afraid of, like
Yeah.
unconsciously or in your subconscious mind? Like, is it like you said, like if I am fit and strong and blah blah blah, then men will actually approach me, and then I'll
That's
actually get a
scary. Some
relationship,
people.
and then it's blah 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 blah. And it's like if you actually do the work around that piece and affirm, would you say it's like affirming almost like the opposite when you're doing the affirmation?
It can be, but then again, like use buffer statements like I'm deciding to be chosen from now on. I'm deciding that I'm the girl who gets chosen every single day. If you've, got a history of people cheating on you, like I'm deciding from now on that I am the girl that gets chosen. And then something I've started to add. it's illogical to think of any reason why I wouldn't be wanted. It's illogical to think of any reason why I couldn't make money in this business because it is illogical a lot of the time. Like there is a formula for everything. Um,
Absolutely. And when it's
yeah,
someone else, like when I'm looking at you, I'm like, obviously. So like when other people are looking at you, like the right people, they're like, yeah, it's illogical
yeah.
that you can't have X, Y, and Z. But then to you, like you said, if it's there's bullshit, then like you need to like deal with that.
Yeah, but sometimes as well, it doesn't take affirmations. And this is like what I include in the 2 week self-concept challenge because like I had this fear of emasculate. Like when I was thinking about hitting 100K on TikTok, it was like what I was affirming for it and I was like losing my own advice because you are so immune to your own advice sometimes. So
So
I'm
true.
like, what the fuck? I was stuck at like 80 between 90 for ages. I was like, I'm posting 3 times a day. My content is insane. Like it gets so many views. Like, why are my followers not growing? And I was like really focused on the vanity metrics, like the followers matter, but it was my goal at the time. And when I wrote it all down, I was like, what my freedom was like, I don't want to emasculate the men in my life. I was like, what the fuck? They're
Mhm.
so proud of me. Where does that even come from? But what kind of bullshit belief is that? And it was like, my friends would laugh at me and it's like, no, they don't. They love my account. They share it. And it was all these fears from whether it was, I've had boyfriends in the past that I've emasculated with not even just money, but just my personality. Like I'm a big personality and I feel like that's emasculated them. So it's not even about like my family, the men in my family. It was probably just men in general that I've attached it to. Um, my friends laughing at me. I've had hometown people troll me 10 years ago. So that's probably where that came from, that fear. So it's not even relevant fears to this day that actively are in my conscious mind. But like I said, my subconscious is so overprotective of me. It's lodged them and it's got them and it's getting Lydia danger, 100K danger. You're not having that. We're not doing that. So me sitting down and actually just debunking them, that can just be the most powerful thing you do by saying, actually, my dad and my brother are so proud of me. And in fact, it actually gives my dad a sense of peace to know I'm successful now. Because 3 years ago, I was having to borrow money off him. I bet he was worried about me. I know I felt like a fuck up. I definitely don't think he felt that about me. But there must have been a sense of worry that came with that time for him and my mum. My success is the greatest gift I could ever give them. Like making them proud actually gives them satisfaction and it's actually a benefit for them. And so you change it from a negative association to a positive association. That's all I had to do. I didn't have to affirm for the TikTok followers after that. I didn't have to affirm for the car after that. It was just reframing. Just that simple reframe. I'm not a big believer in like robotic affirming and just like hammering stuff into your brain. That's why I love subconscious reprogramming because I just think I love sleep affirmations because they're lazy. I love listening to affirmation pages because they're lazy. Like I just like this softer approach to manifestation now. And just that reframing exercise where you just take it out on a piece of paper. And a lot of people are scared to do this.
I know.
Yeah, it's the nitty gritty. And this is why it's not for the faint hearted, but it will set you free. Like I always say in my 2 weeks the first few days, I'm like, listen, don't do this with a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Don't do this like when you're heightened. Grab a cup of tea, comfort blanket, notepad, do it softly, non-judgmentally, and just say, what's going on within me right now? How can I reframe this? That's all you need. You don't even need to say 50,000 affirmations after that.
This is so freaking true. I remember when I burned my business to the ground. After that, I went through such a like shit show and like I was in so much shame and all the thing like there's a whole thing. And then years later, I didn't realize but like I was so scared of experiencing that amount of pain, suffering and shame again that I was like
I
there's
had that.
did you have that? So like
Yeah.
I'm
And I'll
like
start back up
but
again.
I didn't even realize like I think this is like what's why it's quite finicky like and it's worth like you said like actually paper pen and actually writing it down but the irony is once you do that that's actually really simple but
Yeah.
it's like getting to that point of actually just taking out a fucking piece of paper stopping to watch like all the Instagram stuff or the videos and the things but actually like taking out the piece of paper and being like okay what's happening here like what am I really thinking about this like what am I deeply afraid of and yeah and actually just writing that shit down and like you said debunking it being like looking at the opposite side is so simple but there's so much resistance and I think that's why our ego probably like never
Yeah.
actually takes the time to do that.
And again, it's like that self-protective mechanism where we don't want to do that. It's painful. Like for me to sit there and say, okay, what's my deepest, darkest fears? Like, who the hell wants to do that? Like, it's not fun. And sometimes, the stuff that I'm manifesting at the minute, and I'm like, I can't figure out what's blocking me. I can't fit. And sometimes it does take a few cognitive things turning or a few circumstances or Like I couldn't figure out why I wasn't hitting 100K for ages. And I was like, okay, there's got to be something I'm scared of. Like I must not want this in some way. Even just asking myself, why would I not want this? Let's humor me for a second. Let me write this down. Why would I not want this?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then 50 reasons come up, and you're like, oh, that's why it's not manifested.
But it's so true. Oh, I can't.
I think I'm gonna get trolled if I hit. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Why would I want that? It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, but it's so true because if you think about it, the things that you do have in your life, you're like, I have, you don't feel resistance around them. Like you just feel like totally like neutrality around them. Whereas like the things like you said, like that you don't have or that you haven't had for a long time, it's like there's, when you dig, you're like, oh, there is like that thing. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna stop myself because I could like every time he says,
Wow.
oh my God, what about this? Okay, this is what I want people to know. So, where should people go? I mean, I know where they should go, but where do you believe people should go if they are like curious, if they're like, yes, like I want to dive in deeper, I want to learn more. And also, this is a journey, right? Like, there's shit that shows up. Plus, you start questioning yourself. You notice like weird fears come back up, and also like you can be on a good train of thought, and then shit can happen, and then you're like. You kind of feel like you're back to square one, and where you lose that belief. So, for someone like that and who wants to be in your world, where is that number one place that they need to go to
In my like my
in your
platform.
world, like in your coaching world?
I would say my podcast
Yep.
because it's long form content. Like I'm very informative on TikTok and Instagram, but my podcast is where I can tell you my stories and how I got out of things and my clients. And I can just do it in a detailed way. So my podcast is Get an Effing Life, Babe. And all my socials will be linked under that as well. And if you want to do the 2 week self-concept challenge, then it's linked under all of those as well. It's www.the444agency slash .com slash the self concept club. And there's everything I needed 3 years ago is in that place, from sleep tapes if you don't want to record your own, to affirmation, to meditations, EFT sessions, live course, everything. I couldn't give more in that place if I
I
tried.
know.
That's where that's where the 2 week self concept challenge is. And if like I had a message yesterday and it said, let me just quickly read it out.
Yeah.
Um,
No, no, take your time because I really want people to go there because I've seen you share like some of the testimonials and people
oh,
like
they're insane.
they're like
I
crazy.
had one recently, and she said she was homeless when she did the 2 week self concept challenge, and 6 months later, she was homeless with a child as well. Her boyfriend had left her. She was in a dream apartment, just manifested a job. So I'm such a big believer in like rock bottom is not your final destination, and I think that's why people resonate with me because I have that story.
I know. I think that's why I love it because I think
Where it
whether
is.
you're at rock bottom or whether you are doing pretty well, but you know there's so much more. I feel like, and I love like because you shared a testimonial recently. I can't remember when it was, but you said somebody texted you. She's like, "Oh my God, he's literally told me
Yeah,
I love you." Like, and that really resonated with me because when I fell in love with my husband like 10 years ago and he fell in love with me, it was because it was someone I actually really loved myself. I was like, it was a paradigm shift on every level because I know like, and a lot of people feel that way about love specifically. So when I read that, I was like, that there's, and there were a lot of other things that I read about testimonials, and I was like, this is so juicy. Like, it's very like, it's big shit. It's not like
it's huge,
small
sis.
stuff.
I mean,
You know?
just quickly, I was single for 7 years, and I never thought I'd manifest a nice man, and we're not together now, and that's just we just became unaligned. It's nothing like personal, but I never thought I would find a man that because I had so much cheating history and just awful situations with men, horrendous, like bringing their new girlfriend on holiday with all our friends, awful, so awful. I really started to work on it was just this case of like, let me just start changing these beliefs now. So when
Yeah.
I'm ready,
Yes.
so I'm already prepared for a nice man to come in. Within 2 months, I manifested a fucking amazing relationship, like treated me like a princess. Love him to this day. We're great friends. That like it just
That's
didn't work out. Just didn't work out. But I never even thought I would even manifest somebody just coming in and being nice just to be nice and like wanting to treat me nicely and like there is no where self concept can't touch. That's
Oh,
what
that's what I love about it.
touch. And so like the one I got the other day was I'm on day 4 of self concept challenge, and oh my god, so many good things have happened. I've been offered a business deal for my beauty business. I've been awarded an award from uni, and people are a lot more appreciative of me. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see more results. That's day 4. This is the same thread. I'm so excited. And last year I applied for the London Marathon, then they rejected me, but I got a phone call today out of the blue offering me a place. It's just crazy things come out of the blue. Like I've had like people, brands messaging me for model opportunities and like crazy things that like they weren't even in my atmosphere to manifest, but they're just amazing things. And it's from self-concept work. It's just life changing.
I know. I really like that. I'm so excited. Like, I'm so excited for people to listen to this. I'm so excited for people to do it. I think it's also so like accessible and like doable. And I love that your background. I love your story. I love that you started where you did and that you do have these crazy stories of what used to be your world because I think that makes it so relatable. Because I think
Yeah.
some people feel like that this can't happen to me because I'm not in X, Y, and Z situation where it's like you've dealt with so much stuff and
Yeah.
now you're where you are now. And it's like, it's just, I think that itself is just like literally proof in and of itself. And then beyond all of the other testimonials. So that's really cool. So it could remind, just in case people are like, okay, now I really want in. Um, do they go to, what's the fastest place? Like Instagram and then there'll be a link if they go to your Instagram.
Instagram, I've got links everywhere. So whether you find me on TikTok, I'm Lydia Killion 444. Instagram, I'm getting effing life, babe. There's links all over my socials. So there'll be something somewhere for you to find the 2 week self-concept challenge. But again, the podcast is where like the longer form content is.
Oh my God, so good. And then I'll pop the links of all of those in the below,
Thank
guys,
you.
on YouTube and then also obviously on the podcast bit. But this has been such a pleasure, Lydia. Like I'm so excited for people to find you and like laugh as well. Like they're gonna I think they're just gonna feel so refreshed and like so excited again about like life because you bring such a like joy and fun and juice to it. And I think for me, I needed that, let alone like I can only imagine what other people feel as well. So I'm so excited. Thank you for taking the time. It's been amazing.
Oh, you're so welcome. I've loved every second. It was a hell yes as soon as you asked me.
Oh, it was hell yes on my end. I was like, oh my
10
God.
year, 10-year reunion. I love it. It's like a school reunion.
I know. It is. I was like, oh my, I do feel like I'm kind of going back like into my 20s. Anyway, okay. You're amazing. I will pop all the links. You guys catch up with Lydia, like go find out all about her and go check out her testimonials as well, because I feel like that will just be like so like mind-boggling that in itself is just huge. And I will see you all for our next episode. It's been such a pleasure, and I will see you guys all soon. Bye, everyone.